welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. As we've already said, this is very exciting. This is the first webinar for Girls on Track for 2026. We are super excited to bring back the webinar series. We're hoping this is the first of 4 across the year, and this one is focusing on engineering. Hence, we're having the fantastic, amazing, trailblazing Romy Mayer joining us. Of course, race engineer for PremiAir Racing. I nearly went to say Triple Eight, it's completely wrong. Of course, that is a part of her journey as well. And we've got Emmy Drew, who is, I'm going to make sure I read this out because it's a little bit of a tongue twister, production control placement student at Red Bull Powertrains. Try saying that 10 times fast. And of course, our Girls on Track High Achiever for 2024 as well. So I think just a little bit of housekeeping before we jump in. You would have all been automatically muted as you joined the webinar. However, please, we do encourage all questions. There is a chat box, so please pop any questions that you have in there, and we will have time to answer questions towards the sort of second half of the webinar. For any reason, if my internet decides to completely go to cactus, I will rejoin as quickly as I can. And we also have Alison here on the line, so hopefully she can pick up and help out if needed, because she's also a co-organizer of the meeting. But that's not going to happen. We're not going to put that out into the universe. Everything is going to be fine. So please, yes, sit back, relax, enjoy. We are recording this, so this will be popped up onto the Motorsport Australia YouTube channel. So Emmy and Romy, and myself included, let's not say anything that our employers wouldn't like, and then we can just have some fun and talk all about your impressive careers and how you got to where you are. And of course, everyone wants to know the advice that you've got for young engineers coming into the field as well. So the first lot of questions I've got are for both of you. So I think it might just be easier so I don't have to keep going, Romy and Emmy and Romy and Emmy. I might just ask the question, Romy, if you could answer first, and then Emmy, if you could answer after Romy, and then we'll break off into some more targeted questions about both your careers. So Romy and Emmy, are you ready? Are we going to get into it?
Sure.
Fantastic. Good stuff. All right. So what sparked your career journey into motorsport? Romy, over to you.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good to see so many of you joining this afternoon. And my journey started a bit later than some other people who work in motorsport or have a family in motorsport. I grew up in Germany, as many of you know, but I haven't had a passion in my childhood on motorsport. Obviously, living in Germany, growing up in Germany in the time of Michael Schumacher racing, so Formula One was quite present all the time, and it usually was Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. the race start, and it was a lot of the rainy days you come to watch it, but I never really thought at all working in that industry. For most definitely not my childhood and even not my teenage year. Only it happened during my studies when I started to get interest into automotive. So I actually started studying a combination of management and engineering first, and then switched to automotive engineering when I realized I actually want to design cars or work in the automotive industry. And during my studies, I joined the Formula SIA team of my uni. And then slowly I got to understand what motorsport is and what it means. So basically only when I was already probably 23 was my first thoughts about working in motorsport. Then when I realized it's actually probably a pretty cool job, not only you get to travel, but also whatever you work on, you have a quite immediate feedback on your results and if you're doing well or not. Then I tried to push to get into that. And I had a pretty standard way. I applied for a job as a junior data engineer at Mercedes, because or HWA, which is the motorsport team from DTM, and nowadays also GT3 from Mercedes. And because they're close to my hometown and my uni, and then I got how I got my first job.
Emmy, over to you.
Yeah. So I suppose I have the classic story of I did grow up a little bit with motorsport in my life, but not necessarily because I sparked that interest. I was very lucky that I had a dad who was willing to take their, I'm going to say, 11-year-old girl to the Grand Prix with a very expensive grandstand pass. He had no idea if I would actually enjoy it, because I'd never shown an interest with it on telly. But as soon as I experienced my first Grand Prix for the first time, it was 2012 Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. That is when it really changed everything. I was like, wow, cars don't just go around on a telly. They actually sound amazing. They're so quick. They look amazing. And there was opportunities to even look a little bit into the pits, kind of see what's going on there. And that's, I suppose, when I first remember motorsport playing a part in my life. But I never really thought it would be a career for me at the time. I was really determined to be a det, so I thought that's what I was going to do. So when it came to the end of high school and I had to choose, or I didn't have to choose to go to university, but when I was choosing what to do next, I already knew I wanted to go to uni and keep learning, keep studying something. And then I thought maybe engineering is a possibility to take my studies in a direction into motorsport. I was really lucky in year 10. Most high schools, I think, have the opportunity to do some kind of work experience. And I was really lucky to get an opportunity with Boeing Aerostructures Australia. So not motorsport necessarily, but that was what sparked the passion for, or the idea of going into engineering. And so, yeah, I went into university studying an engineering degree, as well as a degree in German studies, which everybody at the time was like, why would you do that? Like, we live in Australia. It's not common anymore as well. But I had a grand plan, and that grand plan was to go into motorsport, specifically Formula One. And I don't know if I can say this on camera, but Mercedes was the end goal. That was the dream. But I'll take Red Bull. It's okay. So yeah, that going into university, and then of course joining my Formula Student team. In fact, Formula Student and is something I became aware of through going to the Grand Prix. Teams from different universities around Australia tend to have stores that they set up at the Grand Prix, and they talk a little bit about what they do. And so being aware of Formula Student teams drove which university I went to. So I went to Monash University. I still go to Monash University because at the time, and arguably now, is one of the best Formula students in Australia. And through that team, I knew I'd get the opportunity to compete in Formula Student in Europe as well. And that's exactly what happened. So all those experiences gave me the confidence to apply for a student placement with a Formula One team. And that's how I met my first job in Formula One.
It just proves, doesn't it, that no one's pathway into motorsport is the same. And I think we're really sometimes can compare our journeys to others, but I think it's important for us all to know that, yeah, there are so many, no matter if it's a technical role or a non-technical role, everyone's pathway can look really, really different. And it's also never too late, right? Never too late to come and be part of motorsport, for sure. Romy, we'll start with you on this one. What challenges did you need to overcome in the early days?
Yeah, obviously working or even studying in a male-dominated industry or field brings along the challenges that I feel you always need to prove yourself, no matter how long you have been there, no matter how good your uni results are. You always need to be a bit better than the average. There are a lot of so many male engineers around the world, in any engineering industry, and it's okay if you are good, or like in motorsport, you need to be better, bit better than good. But as the female engineer, you need to be definitely better than the average. Definitely better than your colleagues as well. Like if you're just a standard engineer, you will get picked up, like not picked on, but your error stands out, and also your achievement stands out. So it's you have both sides. Like if you have a great achievement, like if your car will be on pole position or win a race on a podium, that will get highlighted. But also if you do errors, especially within a team, that kind of stands out as well. So you need to be confident in your knowledge and to stand above that, to know what you can do, believe in yourself, believe that you can make errors, and there will be people obviously supporting you. Everyone makes some error, but you need to be aware that errors will stand out. And that's kind of, I struggled with that in the beginning and I doubted myself a bit. And yeah, nowadays, like I said, the errors still stand out and you still get questions, especially if you join a new team or have a new role. You always need to prove yourself. But nowadays, I back myself, not only obviously have a lot of experience, but also even if I'm new to a field or new to a new race car, I back myself that I know with the knowledge I have, I can make it work.
Any challenges you've overcome?
I'm going to sound really old school, not old school, but it seems irrelevant now. Something that really kind of put a spanner in the works for me was COVID, to be honest. COVID, in terms of lockdowns, was my first year of university, continued into my second year, and then, of course, affected the opportunities I had to form a student. I had a very strict plan of how my years at university were going to go. You know, my first year, I can't join my former student team, so I'm just going to study really hard. Second year, join former student. Third year, go to Europe. Fourth, you know, I had an Excel spreadsheet of how it was going to go. So yeah, when I realized that plan was going to have to change, I had to become a little bit more flexible. I mean, yeah, it wasn't until my third year at university that I had the opportunity to compete with my former student team at FIA, so the Australasian competition. And that's considered relatively late, I suppose. And it wasn't until my fifth year university, so in 2024, that I had the opportunity to go to Europe with my former student team. So it took a lot longer, I suppose, than I was expecting. Still, in the grand scheme of things, you know, it's only a matter of years. But for me, it was a bit of a mental game. I had to kind of adapt. I had to find a way to cope that maybe things aren't going to happen as quickly as I think they're going to happen. And then also determination. It takes a lot of patience and determination to stick out at forming a student for so long. I mean, it's a lot of weekends, it's a lot of late nights, but it felt like it's something I had to do to in order to have the opportunities to fill out my resume to apply for a student placement with a Formula One team. Formula student, of course, wasn't the only opportunity I took on. And so I took that opportunity to expand on my experiences, volunteer, whether that was through Girls on Track and get experiences through Girls on Track, other opportunities through university, and then even internships that weren't motorsport related necessarily. I think I was able to prove to myself that I am a little bit more determined than I felt I was. And at the end, I can make it work, always make it work.
Just going to quickly change my background. I've been told that my logo is backwards and it's probably driving everybody crazy. So I'm just going to quickly switch to blur. Hopefully that does fix it. I don't know if it will let me do that while we're in here or not. I can't go with no background, sorry, because I really don't want you to see my living room. But yes, just see if it will actually let me change it, but I'm not sure it will. So it might just have to drive everyone crazy. Sorry, guys, I've pointed it out now, so if you haven't seen it already. But it looks normal to me when we're presenting, but apparently to everyone else, it's backwards. So apologies. All right, so let's continue with, you've both had to make the decision to move overseas. So yeah, Emmy, from here over to Europe, Romy Europe to here. So Romy, that is a huge decision no matter what age. So can you talk us through how you went about that huge change in your life?
Yeah, obviously for me a bit later than for Emmy. I was already working for Mercedes Motorsport for 6 years, and I felt I really needed a change, not only in the job itself. I wanted to work on different race car than the DTM car, but then also a change of a country, of the cultures. And so obviously the supercars are on a global motorsport level very high. The other option would have been obviously the UK, but I felt first it was very close to Germany, and it also the weather isn't as nice as in Queensland. So I thought like, oh, I'll give it a go. I actually applied. I sent the way I came to Australia. Obviously, my first job here was working for 888. I sent an email to info@redbullracingaustralia.com. Sent my CV there, and then it was on the weekend. And on Monday, I had an email from Mark Dutton. And like a week later or so, I had a Skype interview with Dado, Ludo, and RD. And another 3 weeks, I think, they told me I can come in a month. So I packed my bags. It was just actually, they told me I have the job. It was on my 30th birthday. It was on my birthday.
Nice.
Yeah, I came just with my suitcase. I didn't have family that time, and I've never been to Australia before I actually came. But I thought, oh, if I don't like it, I always can go back, because there's so many motorsport jobs, or like in Europe when I had 5 years experience there, might be not the same job anymore. But I thought, yeah, just give it a go. Obviously, the beginning, joining a race team, you kind of join a family. So I felt very home from the beginning. You had straight away your colleagues, which are then become your friends and your family to start with, obviously. Been traveling straight away. So it was not as hard to move to. Obviously, you need to set up your life new, but I like that anyway. I love different culture, new things. So that wasn't that hard for me. And on top of that, yeah, I joined the race team where you kind of join a family. Obviously very far away from my parents and other family and friends back home. And yeah, the closest friends I still have from back then, but you need to make when you make the decision, you need to realize not all friends will stay friends, and it will definitely be a change in your life, and you need to accept it and just yeah, I said, eyes forward and get excited about a new life.
Okay. Emmy?
Yeah, I suppose, as Robbie was saying, in Europe, there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of motorsport opportunities. Within Australia, absolutely, there are opportunities, but not necessarily the same breadth, I suppose. There are engineering opportunities, for example, with supercar teams, and that's amazing, but it didn't necessarily align with what I was passionate about within engineering. The opportunities just didn't seem to exist, I suppose, or not yet. They may do in the future when I come home, but it was quite clear to me that if I wanted to work within Formula One specifically as well, that I had to make that move. I have to say though, a lot of the teams have factories and opportunities in the UK, and it is, well, for me personally, much easier to move to a country or another country where it's English speaking for starters. I don't have to, you have to have a second language to live and work in the UK. And then the cultural differences aren't, for me personally, massive compared to Australia, compared to if I were to move to other countries. So I think all those things made the move a lot easier as well. And I do have some family in Europe, which obviously makes a huge, huge difference. One thing I couldn't predict that has turned out really, really well is the opportunity to live with other students who are from my university, from my Formula student team, also doing placements with Formula One teams. So I actually get to live with someone who I've a friend, someone I'd known for already several years. And I think that just goes to show with Formula Student and with the motorsport world how many opportunities there are to make friends and make those connections. And it might come full circle, you never know. So I think all those things made the move so much easier. Also that it's for now only a 12-month placement, and I will go home after this to finish university. So I think for my friends, that makes it easier for them as well, knowing that I will come home at some point. But little do they know that I may want to come back. So we'll see. But technology is amazing these days. We can do video calls, we can do voice calls. Like, it's so much easier to connect, aside from the time zone difference, of course. But it's so easy to keep in touch still with social media, and it's definitely not as daunting as you think it's going to be when you consider that you actually can just pick up the phone and call your mate if you have a hard time.
We'll dive into your role a little bit later on, but I have one quick thing on how long it kind of took you with the move. Is it like Romy's, where it was like literally a month and you've changed your whole life, or is it a little bit longer?
Yeah, for me it took a little bit longer than that, mostly for visa reasons as well. So the actual interviews for my position didn't happen until October the previous year, and then I started in July the following year. So it was actually a really, really long process. I still had 6 months of uni before I was going to start, before I would move. And then it wasn't until 3 months before I started that I had to start applying for my visa and hand in my passport and things like that. So it definitely didn't happen overnight. But yeah, I guess that gave me a lot more time to then say goodbye to friends and family. Like, I made lots of plans to spend time with them in that 6-month period. So I think you can either rip the Band-Aid off or you can draw it out a little bit longer. And I had the opportunity to do the round. So I think that really helped me.
Thank you both for answering all those questions. We'll dive into a little bit more targeted ones around both your careers. So Romy, we'll kick off with you. You've had huge success across 2 teams within the Supercars Championship. So just to recap, 3 drivers championships with Jamie Whincup, 4 teams championships with Triple Eight while you were there. And then when you moved to PremiAir, you took the success with you as well, because you were the first female engineer to produce a pole position, and that was also the first for the team too. And then you guys backed it up with the podium at Sandown, and that was in 2023, which, when I read that, blew my mind. That was no way in 2023. That definitely happened last year.
Yeah,
How's that time gone so quickly? But Romy, what has helped you to achieve that success within Supercars?
To be honest, when I first so obviously working in DTM in Europe is a much different, even the role where I came from, the role data engineer, performance engineer should be the same, but working in a DTM team in Europe, then moving to Australia in a supercar team, even with Triple Eight, which is the biggest supercar team, is very different. So what I learned there, and then also that same learning I could take forward with me to PremiAir, is that you need to be adapting your role and your knowledge to the team and what is required. Even though the job description is the same and kind of like the name is the same, but it might look totally different. And I think this is something which always helps me finding my feet pretty quick and stepping up, that I learn to adapt and learn to use the right, or focus on the right things which are needed in the different teams, and using that to help either the driver or the team moving forward.
So advice for longevity as well, having a long career within not only obviously supercars but motorsport as well. What's your advice there?
Yes, I see it comes already from that when you look just on career-wise, that you kind of adapt to not only the team, but then also regulation changes, yeah, the car changes. So always being there and eager to learn, open to new fields you're taking on. Because yeah, in a bigger team, a race in Germany, a role might look very different than in a little team. And that obviously helps you moving forward. Even though you might do being a race engineer or performance year all these years, the role might look very different, not only from team to team, but also within the team. And there's always, motorsport is always involving, the technology is always involving, not only now since they have AI and much, much more software will come up, but already before, like when I was in Europe, like I think never any of these 5 years my role was the same, and there was always new things and new learnings, and that kind of kept me going and kept me moving forward. But then obviously there's the other hand that like Emmy said, not only Formula SAA but also motorsport is very time consuming, life consuming. So you need to build a life around your job and not the other way around, kind of. Especially obviously when it's usually the dream for everyone starting their career in motorsport to be there where they are. So they're giving up a lot of time anyway because it's becomes your hobby, your passion, and you don't mind. But then when you look down the road for longevity, it's pretty hard on the body, on the mind, doing like NASCAR or Formula One. I think if you would do all the races all the time, traveling through different time zone, your body doesn't know, or you need to learn to tell your body when to sleep properly. So it seems pretty, yeah, not simple, or you think like because you're so excited, adrenaline is there, but this is something you really need to work on early, that you can do it for 10 or 15 years. Otherwise, after 3 or 4 years, you feel burnt out, and you might hit a point where you say, oh, this is very hard. But so you, from early onwards, understand your body, listen, give yourself time to recover, give yourself thoughts, time outside of motorsport, have conversation with people who don't know anything about motorsport, talking about topics which doesn't have anything to do with motorsport, racing, or cars. And that kind of refreshes your mind and also gives you a break from that, I feel. So yeah, that is my advice. And then obviously coming down the road, when you want to have a family, again, you need to kind of build a family life around your job, or be lucky that your job allows then that you can step back from 180% what you're giving to just 100%. Yeah, it's a journey, and I'm still on it as well.
I'm like, my neck hurts from like nodding that much. Like, yes, have people in your life that you can talk to about other things than motorsport. Yeah, it's surprising how that can refresh you. That is amazing advice. So relationships, communication within not only your race team, but in motorsport in general as well. In your opinion, how important is it to, build those relationships and be a good communicator?
Yeah, obviously in a race team, you have you're talking and you're working with a lot of different people. So you have obviously the race car drivers, the other engineers, your boss, mechanics, tire technician, and all of them. We all want to win. Everyone strives to the same goal, but everyone talks a totally different language. And I don't mean English, German. Yes, maybe sometimes as well. But if you tell the same sentence, I need the tires now, let's say, to one guy, he might go and grab them straight away, while the other just finish the job he's doing and does it then. So you not only need to understand all these people, the way they express themselves, but you need to even understand their personalities and find them on the same level. So for me, one of the things which I've been working on long time already, and actually that's what we achieved, where we came across great success at PremiAir with our car 31 when we had our first pole position and podium, was that team which thrive together, which flows together. I always said we're in a flow. It just worked because we knew each other, we understood each other, we had this great communication. But it's up to usually the especially when you're the race engineer, because you're kind of the leader of the pack, of your little pack, to make sure to build that community and the language within your team. And you need to make sure you communicate to the people, so you meet them on their level and in their language, which might be very, yeah, like I said, the same sentence or the same request can sound very different when you talk to a race driver or when you talk to the mechanic. It's something absolutely crucial, and it's something there's no rule, like no book for it to give you that book and read that and you know how it works. It will be different for each person, each role, and each team, but it's something definitely to invest and to really understand people, talk to them not only about their job, but also just on other things, just to see how they communicate, how they bring things across to you, so you can meet them on their level when you need something from them. During the racing event, especially when it gets hectic and when there's something going wrong or when it's under pressure. So that's actually the moment where you then can stand out and make the right decisions and get the people across the line with you. Also that they make the right decision, they don't make any errors.
It's fantastic advice, and you're so right. You can say the same sentence to two people and they interpret it quite differently. So when you're working with junior engineers within your role, what sort of skills and traits do you find makes them kind of great engineers to work with? That can be both technical and non-technical skills.
So usually in supercars, I would say the typical entry position would be either a junior data engineer or a junior design engineer. I mostly work with junior data engineers, and for them it helps a lot, to be honest. If they come when they first start their job, they know how to navigate through some of the softwares we are using, especially the most common one, the Motec system in Australia, is pretty common across a lot of cars. They have free software. If you would know how to find your way around, just opening a file, creating a new workspace, that would help us, because that already saves me like probably a day just explaining them, this is the button to open, this is how to drag files in, this is how to highlight a channel, and so on. And that's because that's nothing to do with actually our performance. This is just basic software knowledge what we're using. So it helps a lot if someone knows already the software, get their head around it. And then I appreciate a lot if someone comes up with new ideas, but then also stays within a framework. Don't go off too far, to the neighbors, like what I mean. We love new ideas because we've been all working, like most of us been working in supercars for quite a lot, and sometimes you get a little bit blind. So we love when there's new ideas from different race heroes, or like fully fresh, obviously, as well, coming in. But some stuff cannot be straight away applied or goes too fast. So if engineer has new ideas, but it's still within that framework where we're actually working, that's the best thing ever.
Thank you. Just another reminder, I know Alison just popped it in the chat, but if you do have any questions for Romy or Emmy, please pop them in the chat and we'll have some time for your questions very, very shortly. So Romy, thank you for that deeper dive, and then we'll head over to Emmy. So Emmy, let's talk a bit more about how you got the role with Red Bull. So just a reminder, everybody, it's production control placement student at Red Bull Powertrains. So I just like to say there's a lot of words in that one title. But yeah, talk us through you did touch on it before. Obviously, it was a bit of a longer process, but talk us through how that all happened for you.
Yeah, I suppose step one is knowing that a role like this exists, or that placement students exist with Formula One teams. And the way that I kind of found out that these roles exist is through Formula Student. It just comes up in conversation, I suppose, as you're talking with other people in your team of, what are the next steps? Oh, well, I saw this role posted, whether it was on LinkedIn or they found it another way. So I found that a lot of opportunities in motorsport tend to come up from just talking to people. You don't necessarily know that some roles exist until you talk to other people or you start looking for yourself. And so something that was actually quite difficult was knowing when to start looking. I had no idea what time of year that I should be looking. And so a combination of speaking to other people, I know, so-and-so did a placement a couple of years ago. When did they start applying? I reached out to some other people that I knew, and then looking for myself as well. So following all the Formula One teams on LinkedIn, for example, they tend to post about when they're opening up their opportunities for placement students, for example. And then, of course, actually applying for a role. And each team is kind of different how they approach that within Formula One specifically. I mean, some of them have links on their website to Workday and you fill out a normal application. Some teams, you had to record yourself saying things. Other teams seem to just be a couple of multi-choice options, really short, brief, and you never hear anything again. So yeah, honestly, just knowing the roles existed and then applying is a whole nother thing. I mean, I think knowing when in your career or your studies is the right time to apply is a tricky thing as well. For me, I knew it was the right time because I kind of had the success I was looking for with my Formula Student team at the time. We'd had the opportunity to compete in Europe and go to several different competitions, Formula Student Germany, Netherlands, Austria, Hungary. And it wasn't until Formula Student Germany, the last competition, when my Formula Student team, or our cost and manufacturing team, which I was leading at the time, we took first place at FST 2024. And once I had that, I kind of ticked off something off my list. I'm like, yes, I've made history for my Formula Student team. That's what I was looking for. It took many, many years, but once I had that, I knew that it was time for me to kind of move on. I came home from that, and I knew I had this hunger to go back to Europe, and that's when I knew also I was mentally ready to start again somewhere else. I was so excited about the opportunity to come back and keep traveling around Europe as well. I mean, it all sort of fell into place. Absolutely, I could have applied a lot earlier. I think we tend to think that we need certain experiences to then qualify us for these roles, but also something that I've learned through the process of applying is that sometimes when you do compare yourself to other people and the experiences that they come to the table with, actually I had a lot to offer and almost more than I needed, if that makes sense. I definitely could have applied several years earlier with the experiences I had. So yeah, I suppose I'm coming to some advice here, which is you don't need to have that tick box. Yes, I can put this in my resume. Actually, there's a lot of teams that are willing to give you those experiences that you need within the role anyway. So I would definitely say to other young people looking to apply for these roles, apply as soon as you can, really. There's no harm in applying as soon as you've started studying, as soon as you've joined a Formula Student team, if that's something that you have the opportunity to do. You'd be surprised how little you need on your resume to be given an opportunity like this.
Good. my advice is still get the work experience for sure.
Yeah,
thank you for that. That's a really good deep dive into because it can be, it must be really scary to say, okay, I'm going to try and make this happen for myself, you know, on the other side of the world. But also, can you give us a little bit of a day in the life of in your role? What does it look like? What do you do? You obviously, I saw you on your socials. You were in Detroit for the Ford launch as well, which is exciting. No, you weren't there? Where were you? Where it looked like you were standing in front of a Ford.
I know. I was standing in front of the new livery, which was really, really exciting. But they actually had 2 cars set up. They had one in Detroit for the launch, and then they had one back at the factory, so we could all take photos and pretend like we were in America. Yeah,
it worked. I thought you were. It worked. But yeah, talk us through a day in the life of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm normally still in bed at this time, to be completely honest. I'm really lucky that I live really, really close to the factory, walking distance, in fact. So yeah, I get in to work at a reasonable hour, I would say. Not too early, not too late. Production control, I would describe as technical operation. So I can't talk too specifically about what the role even is, to be completely honest, but I would say it does, of course, look into production. So in this case, production of within powertrains. And within powertrains, I work with the ERS system, so energy recovery system, and that includes things like your motor, so your MGUK with the 2026 regulation, so that harvests energy from your braking system, your energy store, which of course stores that energy and then distributes it when needed, and those are some of the systems that I kind of oversee production for. That makes me sound really high up, but that I support with. And so, yeah, within my role, I talk to lots of different people. Communication is massive. It's a massive skill to have, and especially when things tend to get quite stressful, whether it's a time crunch, whether something's not going quite right, you need to know how to get people on your side and get them on board with what you want to do and what you think's best, but also to get them to do something that maybe you need them to do within a slightly shorter time frame than what they would like. So yeah, communication, massive. The technical understanding also definitely need within the role, because when things do become quite stressful, when you've got that time pressure, you need to know the systems that you're working with. People don't have time for you to ask questions all the time. You need to have some understanding before you go into the role that this is the system you're working with, this is how it works, and then that gives you that fundamental understanding going into the role, so that you don't spend hours asking questions, and you know how to use your combine your operational skills with that technical knowledge as well.
Yeah, that's way above my head. I'm
sorry, it's very
amazing.
general.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I know it's hard for you to talk about because you can't actually say much detail, but thank you. I appreciate you getting through that for us. Let's hop into some questions. So thank you to the ones that have already popped their questions in the chat. Feel free to add them. We'll try and get through as many as we can as we're entering in the last kind of 15 minutes of the webinar. So Romy, I think this question might be great for you to answer if you wouldn't mind. So from Maria, she asks, when applying for junior roles, what is the best way to make yourself stand out? Is it grades? Is it experiences? What are people looking for?
Yeah, I mean, grade, like probably you heard it all. The grades in motorsport, that is not everything. Obviously, depending as well on which kind of team and which kind of company applies. Some have automated selection. If you don't have the grades, you don't even get considered. But experience always helps. If you did volunteering with little teams within Motorsport Australia as officials and so on, we don't want to see that you have experience. We want to see that you get an idea what it's like to work in motorsport. And then usually when you have this kind of, or when you get some experience, you know that then you will be passionate about it or not, because it's not a job. Or like with working in motorsports, you cannot really do it if you're like, oh, I just like it. You need to either love it or it's not for you, because it takes a lot of extra time. It's a 180% job. Like, so, and then this passion you need to show on the interview, or if you get an opportunity for an internship or a placement or a visit, and then not be only interested and passionate about the role you're applying, but about the whole team. Ask questions which might not be really important for your role, but just open your eyes, look around, and that kind of shows us that you would like to fit, and you like to be part of the team. Yeah, and ideally, if you get some experience in that field, that helps. If you have knowledge of some software, if you did like a uni project with some of our typical motorsport software or project around it, that helps obviously as well.
Thank you. Emmy, is there anything you'd like to add to that one?
Could you repeat the question one more time? I'm so sorry.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. When applying for junior roles, what is the best way to make yourself stand out, grades or experience?
Well,
and
I can
all.
say from experience that I don't have the best grades. I'm not the top student by any means. I'd say I'm pretty average, and I don't think it was very relevant to my particular role that I applied for. I can't speak for every role. I know there was some requirements in terms of, you should be currently meeting the equivalent of like a 70 WAM, which, I was meeting when I applied for the role. But in terms of actually going into an interview, no one sits there and asks, so what kind of grades are you getting at university? Walk me through that. No one cares once you're at that point. So if you can at least tick off, an average grade, that's a good start or a good place to aim for. Even higher is better, I think, for really heavy technical roles. But again, it depends on the team or the company that you're applying for. And so if not grades, then definitely experience. Having some experience that allows you to show that you're passionate, I think, is really, really important, whether that's through forming a student or volunteering or through other work opportunities. I think one of the most important things that people underestimate when applying for a role like in Formula One is that passion goes a long way, and a willingness to be a member of the team, be part of a family almost, that is willing to work with other people. That is so important within a motorsport team. You can have the highest grades, but it doesn't mean a whole lot if you can't work with other people and you're not willing to work with other people and get the best out of the people that you work with as well.
Thank you. I'll head into the next question, which is a little bit specific, but they sound like an exceptionally busy person. How was it managing a double degree in engineering and language? I'm considering studying mechanical engineering and Italian, but I'm a bit nervous about whether I can handle the workload, especially participating in Formula Student, so Formula SAE. So who would like to try and tackle that question if they've got some advice about that kind of workload, not only being an engineer, studying a language, and then also participating in Formula Student?
I mean, that pretty much aligns with what I'm doing in terms of, if you don't mind. Definitely, I think people underestimate how good it is to study a double degree in terms of actually that gives you a breather. I find it really nice not to just study engineering subjects all day, every day. It's so nice to break it up with something that is totally different. I think it's good for your brain. It's good for your balancing your workload as well. But one thing I did do during my time, well, so far up until this point at university, is I did take one less subject a semester. It is very, very difficult to study a full-time load at university and do Formula Student and potentially also working a job. I did several of those, so I think at some point you have to be realistic about what's feasible for yourself, what's manageable. Some people can do it, I could not. So I stepped down subject a semester. I even went part-time uni at some points as well. So only doing 2 subjects a semester, and that gave me so much breathing room. That meant that I could balance my life and also extend my degree so that I could have the opportunity to go to Europe with my former student team. Some people would ask me, like, what are you still doing here at uni? Like, my peers were long gone. I say long gone, it was like a year or 2 that they'd already left university, but I stopped caring when I realized how many more opportunities that I could get out of my time at university if I just drew it out a little bit longer.
I think I'll throw this one to you because we do get asked this question an awful lot. Did you always know you wanted to work in a specific role? And if and how did you decide?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Was that for me or Romy?
Oh, sorry, that was for Romy.
Sorry, yep. To be honest, when I started, I didn't even know what role there are in motorsport and motorsport engineering. The data engineer, the data science sparked my interest, and I loved that. And I thought I will stay in that for all my life. Even not only just the normal data science, which comes from the car, but I've been working as a tire performance engineer. I went to tire testing in Charlotte a couple of times with my DTM team, and then I've focused a bit more in aerodynamics as well as simulations. So this field is huge. So you can dive in all these corners easily or move from one to the other. Race engineering is a bit different. Like I said, there's so much more to it. You kind of putting all the bits and pieces together. Communication is huge. Team management is huge. It's a lot of multitasking, is understanding all parts of the car, but then also a lot of time management, data management, people management. So I first never really, like, that was not my end goal, but working within a team, it kind of, I felt at one point, yeah, I really want to try how I'm good at, if I'm good at it, or if I can do it. And now it's kind of the one which I love. Yeah.
How can junior engineers, Romy, maintain connections with teams once completing some experience with them? Whether it's just for a weekend, for example, how can they turn that into perhaps joining the team again, perhaps for a few more rounds?
Yeah, I think staying connected to them, even just to get the email or the phone number of another engineer, it doesn't even need to be the team manager or someone who makes the decision be straight away. And then following up, not straight away, but from time to time, and ask, yeah, or even then, obviously the team manager has more, can do more decision making. But sorry, my son just came. And yeah, so the team manager has more the opportunity to make decision and can guide you maybe through first a entry role, which might not be an engineering role, could be just a temporary role, and then with that you move forward and step into engineering role. So grab the emails, phone number from people you work with, follow up, not straight away, but then just maybe in a couple of weeks, or even before you end your internship, talk. Do you have opportunities coming up? Can I follow up with you in a month? Can I call you? Is it okay? Or like, anyway, even if they say no, we won't, but just still follow up. Yeah, just make sure you keep in contact and try to yeah. Like I said, doesn't need to be the boss, can be other engineers, and there might be even other teams then who might look for someone, and hopefully down the line there's an opportunity coming up.
Thank you. I'll try and squeeze in 2 more questions. I've got 3 minutes to go. I'll try and squeeze in 2 more. Emmy, there's a question for you here. Did you have to do any technical testing when applying for placements or positions? If so, how did you prepare yourself or study for that?
Not very well. Is the answer. Not every position or every team requires you to do technical testing. However, some of the testing that I did have to do was almost fast-paced math, relatively easy math questions, worded questions that didn't seem very relevant to the role specifically that I was applying for, or motorsport at all. Like, it was very much just a fast-paced, quick kind of testing like this, which I was not at all prepared for. I definitely would recommend that people try this type of testing beforehand. I can't remember what it was called, but you'll see the terminology used if you apply, for example, for a role with Mercedes. And then other teams, of course, have technical based questions that do rely on some knowledge of the teams and how they operate, how things are manufactured, how much things might cost. So having that Formula Student experience absolutely helps if you've had the hands-on experience as well of how things are manufactured or designed, or the factors that go into designing something. So I suppose in terms of how you would prepare for something like that, that just comes from experience, within your Formula Student team, and not just asking questions within your own chosen field within your Formula Student team. That involves speaking to everyone in the team about what they do and having a broad knowledge of the entire team.
I'm going to see if we can tackle this one. This kind of question is popping up more and more at the moment. So considering recent advances in AI, how likely is its integration into motorsport? Is its integration into motorsport and engineering soon? Specifically, how would this integration work? And should students be taking courses in AI to prepare? Both your thoughts, if you wouldn't mind, please. Romy, is it okay to start with you?
Yep. I think AI is just like a big word, but we've been actually using, if you would call it AI, since a long time, with all our simulation, all our software we're using, trying to analyze our competitor and everything. That's kind of AI. And obviously big data becomes more and more important, and there's more and more to analyze on visual and simulations. So yes, if you have the opportunity to step into AI and get some courses within that, that will definitely help.
Wonderful, thank you. And Emmy, any thoughts?
I can't say AI has really come up in my role at all. I'm sure it will at some point, maybe not this year, but in following years. I think something even as basic as, I know at university, for example, we're starting to learn to use things like ChatGPT appropriately, with appropriate referencing and things like that. I think that kind of AI is creeping into the workplace. Obviously, we don't put, how to design an F1 car into ChatGPT. Like, it's not like that. We don't put anything that is confidential, but I've heard of people within the industry using things like ChatGPT within their roles. So I think having an awareness, definitely. It might not be relevant for every area of engineering, but I suppose with like any technology, just keeping up with the how it's being used and how it is changing the workplace. For me personally, it hasn't come up much at all.
Thank you both. We're 2 minutes over, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you both for your insights and your time, and for being so generous with answering so many questions about your careers. So also everyone who joined today, thank you so much for your time as well. Thank you for your insightful questions. As we say, this work has been recorded and we will pop this back up on the Motorsport Australia YouTube. So please look out for that. Also, as both these amazing women have said, please make sure you are connecting with Girls on Track as much as you can. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, please do so. If there's any opportunities that you see to join an Empower program and get work experience, we implore you to apply. We want to help as many young women as we can get trackside, get experience, and be progressing in their motorsport career journey. Also, we'll be hosting more webinars throughout the year. This is the first one focusing on engineering, but there'll be other ones coming up as well. And tell your friends, you know, any women that are involved or wanting to be involved in motorsport, we would love for them to be part of our community so we can support them as well. All right, I think that is pretty much everything. So Romy, Emmy, thank you both so much for your time. Romy, it's dinner time for us. Emmy, it's breakfast time for you. So everybody go and enjoy the rest of your days. And thank you all for joining us for the Girls on Track webinar. See you all soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.